Welcome to another deep dive. We're diving deep into the Malaysian economy today, specifically their tax structure.
Yeah, you sent over some fascinating data about income tax in Malaysia.
It's a fascinating snapshot of the situation there. I think our listeners will find it pretty interesting. Let's start with a pretty striking statistic that jumped out at me. Only 5.6 million workers filed income tax returns in 2022.
Out of 16 million workers total, right?
That's right. And even more interesting, only 4.2 million of those actually had to pay any taxes at all. What do you think about that when you first see those numbers?
Well, I think right off the bat, it suggests that there's a fairly significant income disparity in Malaysia. You've got a really small percentage of the population shouldering the majority of the tax burden. And it just begs the question, what does that mean for the long-term economic picture there?
What about the flip side of that?
Yeah.
The 10 million working adults who didn't file income taxes at all. You can't tell me they're all retired.
Yeah, not everyone's living out their golden years. It's pretty unlikely that a huge chunk of them are just comfortably retired.
So what's going on?
A lot of things. Probably some unemployment, but also, I'd wager a good number of them are participating in the informal economy.
The informal economy. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, basically, it's economic activity that goes untracked and untaxed. It exists outside of the formal systems.
So it really distorts the picture, right? Because these folks are still using government services.
Exactly. Healthcare, infrastructure, the whole 9 yards.
So that burden falls back on the taxpayer.
Exactly. Imagine only 4.2 million taxpayers supporting 16 million adults, plus their families. That's quite a weight to carry.
We got to remember too, right? Income tax isn't the only source of revenue for the government.
Absolutely not. You also have corporate taxes, indirect taxes like the SST,
There's the SST.
the sales and service tax, and then, don't forget, import duties. And there are also the oil and gas dividends that play a role.
Right, a whole mixed bag. It reminds me of something we should touch on too, that crucial link between economic growth and a healthy tax base. Do you want to expand on that a little?
Absolutely. Without strong, consistent growth, companies can't really expand. They can't create jobs. And without jobs, people can't earn, which means no matter what the tax rates are, there's not going to be enough revenue to support all those essential government services.
And it gets trickier because Malaysia's population keeps growing.
Yeah, about 300,000 people every year.
So the demand for those services, it just keeps going up and up. It's like we're trying to bake a bigger and bigger cake, but the number of people wanting a slice just keeps growing too.
Great analogy.
So where does that leave the government? What are their options in a situation like this?
Tricky situation. Really, there's no easy solution. They could look at cutting spending.
But then what happens to all those essential services, the ones people really rely on?
Exactly. You cut spending too much, and you risk hurting the people you're supposed to be helping. But they could try to do more targeted subsidies, maybe, make things a little more efficient.
That's tough. Hard to get that right.
Absolutely. And, of course, there's the other option, raising taxes. Always politically sensitive, though.
Yeah, and it could backfire with the very growth you're trying to encourage.
Exactly. It's about finding the right balance.
A delicate dance.
Yeah.
You know, it makes me think of that source we read about the prosperity cake. It's not enough to just divide it up fairly. You got to figure out how to grow the cake too, or else everyone's slices just get smaller and smaller.
Exactly. The long game. You got to think about the long-term effects of everything, every policy.
Well, we've certainly done a lot of thinking in this deep dive. I'd love to get your final thoughts. What stands out to you most about this whole complex situation?
I think it highlights just how important a holistic approach is. You can't isolate these issues. Income, taxes, growth, population, it's all interconnected.
It's like a giant web.
And the more we understand that web, the better decisions we can make.
That's a fantastic takeaway. Well, everyone, we've only just scratched the surface here. This is a topic we could talk about for hours. But hopefully, we've given you some food for thought. Remember, keep learning, keep asking questions. The more informed we are, the better we can navigate these complex issues. See you on our next deep dive.